All right, hello, welcome. Hi. I am somewhere completely different. I am all the way across the country. That's right. It's been a while. I'm a little under rehearsed. Hi, welcome. My name is Shaina. I'm an astrologer, and today we are doing my Saturn return update. So this is number 2 in my Saturn return series. I'll link my Saturn return part 1 video in the cards up here if you haven't seen that. When I was filming that video, I had 0 plans to move and 0 plans to break up with my boyfriend. And since that time has passed, I've done both of those things. So yeah, spoiler alert, that's been a big theme of my Saturn return. In case you're curious, I used to live in this town called Pahrump. I can now expose it because I don't live there anymore, so nobody can dox me or stalk me. But yeah, it was literally like the rump of the country. Like, it's called Pahrump for a reason. It's as lame and shitty as it sounds, if not worse. I like to call it where the homeless people have homes. And I know that sounds really derogatory and offensive, but if you went there, you would say, Shaina, that's a nice way of putting it because these are barely homes. They live in like 2-acre plots of land, and if they're lucky, there's like a 5th wheel on it, right? If they're lucky, you know, and it's just trashed. So anyways, that was the vibe. And now, in case you're curious, I moved all the way across the country to North Carolina. So that's where I've been. I've been gone for a really long time, way longer than I'd ever want to be. I moved to North Carolina, Western North Carolina, and I absolutely love it. I love it to absolute bits. I don't know if I'm in some like honeymoon phase right now with it, but it really is exactly checking off all the boxes above and beyond, more than what I was looking for, more than I thought I would get out of moving. It's just been stupendous and amazing, and I've been absolutely loving it in literally every single way. So far, I have 0 complaints. I didn't mean to jump so much into a spiel here, but I've never experienced 4 seasons before, so this was my first time ever seeing fall. This was Pixie's first time ever being in the snow, and so that was really cool. She has a lot of fun with the seasons. She's just really curious. She really likes the leaves falling and the snow and all the smells, and she loves grass, so anytime we go anywhere, she likes to walk around and just like sniff all the grass that's everywhere. Like, it's really like stimulating for her, and it's just been really good in general. I've been just so happy. And I was talking about this with the Capricorn moon the other day, where it's like, when you're happy as a Capricorn moon, it's like, what do I do with this? Like, is there something I should be doing? How do I act on this happiness? Like, how am I getting the most out of this happiness? What do I do with it? Where do I put it? I don't know. I've been doing really well, and I'm really excited to be back here on YouTube. I've really missed it. It took me a really long time to get this background, and it's just in general taken me a long time to get my apartment set up. The background is still not done. If you see like empty spots or something looks off or doesn't look right, it's because I still have some more things to do. Let me just get some advertising out of the way before I get any further into the video. So I sell full-length birth chart readings on my website, shainaemily.com. I sell regular birth chart readings, transit progress chart readings, synastry readings, and I also sell astrocartography readings now. Yes, I did use astrocartography to help me pick a place, but I did not use lines. If you've been on my TikTok, you know how I feel about lines, but I did use relocation charts to help me figure out where I wanted to move or if it would be a good place or not. And then I also have an astrology TikTok, which I have been posting on, and I do post there like 4 to 5 times a week. It's at shaina.emily. I also have a backup account, which I post whenever I feel like it. It's more of a casual account, at shaina.emily backup. A little bit more of like a spam, I guess, is a better name for it. And do I have anything else? I don't know. I don't think I do. And if I do, I'm so sorry. I forgot about you. I think that's it. That's the advertising. No, I have not forgotten. I am still going to do another aspect video. The poll is still up. I think you're still able to vote on it if you haven't yet. It's in my like YouTube community tab, or like whatever that thing's called. It looks like I'm going to be doing Venus trines / sextile Pluto because everybody's like just wants to jerk off to Pluto and they think it's some like amazing, fantastic, I'm so special because I have a Venus-Pluto aspect, and it's like, sounds like hell. I wouldn't want it, even the trine. Y'all think it's so deep and interesting, like it's the only thing that has any depth in astrology. I'm just sorry. Anyways, I think I'm gonna not allow any more Pluto aspects for a while because I really don't give a fuck anymore. And every time I do a Venus-Pluto aspect, you guys just complain in the comments about how you're not like that. But okay, sure, whatever, then why are you asking me? I'm gonna tell you the same thing every time, you know? Not the point of the video. But before I do that aspect video, I just wanted to get this video out there because I feel like, you know, this is the last piece of my last life that's kind of still around, if that makes sense. Like, so I kind of just want to talk about it, get it out there so I feel like I can really be settled in and move forward. My previous Saturn return video was the first part in this series. I know I'm going to do at least one more video after this. So there'll probably be 3. But that's not going to be for quite some time because that won't happen until next March, which I guess is actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, that's fucking kind of soon. Oh my God, it felt like it was like a year away and now it's like soon. Crisis. Anyways, everybody's Saturn return is different. Some people only have their Saturn return hit once, but for me, Saturn is going on, and for probably a lot of people, Saturn is hitting it 3 times. So I have 3 Saturn return charts, and it hits that my exact point, 1 degrees 47 minutes in Aries. It hits that point 3 times for my Saturn return. So each time it hits that, I have a different chart. That's what I'm breaking down in each of the 3 videos. In the previous video, I made predictions and I broke down my first chart. In this video, I'm going to talk about those predictions, see how good of an astrologer I am, see if I was at all correct, and then I'm also going to talk about my Saturn return chart number 2, how I've experienced that so far, because that happened back on July 26th of this previous year, 2025. I'm also might talk about a few predictions that I have just lightly for my next Saturn return. I don't want to be as heavy with the predictions because my life is at a point that I'm really open right now, and I don't know. I feel like I've made my decision on what I want my Saturn return to be, and probably my next Saturn return hit will probably be more of like what's coming. Like, does that make sense? Like, whatever's coming is coming, and I have to, and I'm gonna take it. What the fuck? That was weirdly sexual. Okay. Anyways. So, also, just to get this out of the way, in my Saturn return chart number 2, I'm a triple Leo. I'm literally like a Leo sun, Leo rising, Leo Mercury, Leo moon. Most of it's in the first house. And so I wore this because it just is the most Leo thing I own. Like, whenever I think of like Leo energy, but like the shaina way, I think of this coat that I have. So that's why I'm dressed kind of ridiculously and like pompously, because I just felt like it fit this chart. So, but anyways, now if you're wanting to know how to find your Saturn return chart, AstroSeek has a great tool where if you search Saturn return calculator, you input your information, where you're going to be for whatever Saturn return you're looking up, and then it gives you the, you know, the date, the time, and stuff of your Saturn return chart. So I just took that and I plugged it in to Astro Theme, and that's how I have the chart in Astro Theme. I just took the information from AstroSeek because I like Astro Theme more. So if you're wondering where my charts are from, I get this question more than any other question in my entire life ever. Probably more than people ask me my name or my sign. I get the question, what website do you use? Astro Theme. I use Astro Theme. I've always used Astro Theme. I'll probably always continue to use Astro Theme. Astro Theme, please sponsor me. Please, I can be bought and sold by you and only you. You know, I'm like a Scorpio. I'm like devoted no matter how much you treat me poorly. You're my favorite website ever, so please sponsor me. But let's start with going over my previous predictions from my last video for my Saturn return. See if I was right or not. Now, my predictions, I mostly said these are the themes that I think are going to come up. I'm not somebody that wants to predict exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, but I was pretty specific with the themes that I said. So I rewatched the video and I took some notes on things that I said. So the first thing that I brought up was, of course, my father. I mean, that just makes sense for everybody's Saturn return. Disciplinarian, authoritarian figures, father figures, and your literal father are going to come up pretty tremendously. And mine did too, in a little bit more of a surprising way than I expected. So I said that I expected that I was going to be my own father figure and disciplinarian figure, which is very, very true. But the biggest thing that's happened so far with my dad is, and I should say, here's my Saturn, by the way. Here's what my Saturn looks like natally. I should preface this because that is like that plays a big role in this information if you're wanting to learn about Saturn returns and how they play out. Mine is in Aries. It's conjunct my south node. It's in my 10th house. It is my final dispositor. It's aspecting pretty much every single one of my planets, or it's the planet that rules that planet. Right? That doesn't make sense. It does make sense, but that didn't make sense how I said it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like my moon doesn't have an aspect to Saturn, but my moon's in Capricorn, so it goes back to Saturn because that's its planetary ruler. So I'm a very Saturnian person. My Saturn is in the 10th house, which is the home house of Capricorn. So I'm a Capricorn stellium. So I suspected in the previous video that I was going to have a very big Saturn return that was going to be very obvious and play very clearly in my face versus somebody that maybe has it in the 12th house, only sextile Neptune. It's going to be a lot more subtle. And so far, I've been correct. So far, it has been a very big and obvious, clear Saturn return. Nobody can really deny right now that I'm going through my Saturn return, in my opinion. But yeah, so basically, I have been my own father and disciplinarian figure, but that's just been true for the past few years, just in general. And that has been more true, but it's more been true in the fact of like, I am my own authority for my life. That has been a big theme, especially with my Saturn being in Aries natally and my Saturn return mostly happening in Aries, because I feel like it still counts when it's a little bit in Pisces because my Saturn's it's at 1 degree, you know, and it's conjunct. It's been a big theme of just realizing that I need to be in the driver's seat of my own life. I can't have some other Saturnian representative be in the driver's seat. I need to, and have me be in the back seat, right? I feel like I wasn't even in the passenger seat. I feel like I was in the back seat of my own life in a lot of ways. Not of my job, but of my life outside of my job. Yes, I feel like this move and this breakup was me putting myself in the front seat of my own life for probably one of the first times ever. Not ever, but I was just so influenced by my parents' wants and wishes, and then I was influenced so much by my ex-boyfriend's wants and wishes that it was hard for me to really make my own decisions in a lot of ways. Even when I was making my own decisions, I think they were still a little bit flavored by trying to make like my mom proud or my dad proud or my partner happy or something. So that's definitely been a big theme. And I think that's just a theme for everybody that's going through a Saturn return in Aries is you need to be in the driver's seat. Like your Saturn return, it's not Saturn in Pisces Saturn return. It's not just going to happen to you. This is a Saturn return in Aries. You need to happen to it. You know, because if I hadn't taken shit into my own hands, I would still be in the same place, literally, physically, and emotionally and mentally that I was during my first Saturn return. This didn't happen to me. I made this happen myself. I was the catalyst. I was the reason. I know nobody that lives here. I mean, now I know people, but before I moved here, I knew absolutely nobody. I didn't know anybody from North Carolina. It was the most, you know, seemingly random choice, you know, from people. Like, why? You know, I found this place. I picked where I wanted to live. Like, I was the person in the driver's seat. I literally was the person in my driver's seat. I put all my stuff in a moving truck and drove the moving truck all the way from Nevada to North Carolina and made sure it got there safely because I didn't trust anything else. You know, shout out to the person that helped me move. Shout out to Ingrid. I did have a girl that drove my car here with me. I couldn't have done this move without her. Like, really, it would have been so much harder and taken me so much more time. So huge, huge, huge thank you to her. She's like a big reason why I was able to get here as well. So I just want to say that. I didn't do it totally alone, but pretty much other than her helping me go on this trip, I was doing it on my own, you know? The other big thing that happened that I did not expect to happen during this Saturn return was that I decided to talk to my father again, which is very like Saturn in the 10th house, in my opinion. But with it being in Aries, I wanted to talk to him, not because I felt like I needed to, but because I wanted to in my own self. You know, I was leaving Vegas. My dad still lives in Vegas. He still lives in my childhood home. I just didn't feel like I could move across the country without him knowing. And I did. I am really glad, actually. I didn't think about this at the time, but I am really glad that I physically saw him before I left town. I hadn't seen him for like 2.5 years. And I hadn't been home for 2.5 years, even though I was like living around that place or living around Vegas and going around the area all the time. I hadn't seen him or spoke to him really. And so I am glad I did. You know, I got to basically actually formally meet his new wife for the first time. We had kind of met, but not really. It was like in passing and it was a little odd. So we had finally formally met. met. I got to see what the house looks like after my dad and her changed, you know, a lot of stuff from when my mom lived there. And it was kind of comforting to be able to see the new place to see the place in the way that it looks now. It was nice to get some confirmation because it was really stressful to me to not know what it looked like and what was kept and what wasn't, and if they were even living there, you know. So I do feel like I have found a little bit more peace with it. And I feel like a lot of my fears were either validated or invalidated. And it's nice to get that confirmation in a strange way. I didn't talk to him again for him. I talked to him again for me. I also felt like it was just a very unsafe thing for me to do, to move across the country on my own without knowing anybody, just because I am a girl and there's a lot of creepy people out there. And so another big reason was for my safety, to have somebody that if something went wrong or something, I could kind of let them know, because I didn't have anybody that I knew that I could kind of be like, hey, I'm getting kidnapped. You know what I mean? Like that would like help me, you know? So it was a big safety precaution. It's just nice to have my dad know where I am and to know, and honestly kind of to know where he's at too, you know? So it's a strange relationship for sure. And it's very distant, and he's keeping me at a very strong arm's length. He doesn't want to talk about anything serious. And you know what? That's okay. I don't really need any more drama in my life. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that moving forward. I'm sure I guess if we're getting into some predictions already, I'm sure that there will be some kinds of argument or issue, or, you know, I'll slip and I'll say something rude and honest. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if something does happen between now and my next hit of my Saturn return. But as of right now, I made the right decision, and I handled it really well, in my opinion. The way that I chose to approach him, I just showed up, you know, very Aries. Here I am. What are you going to do about it? You can't text me mean things. You got to see me in my face. And so we'll let it play out how it plays out, but I'm glad that I did that. So yeah, I was right. My father really did come back into my life in a strange way. You know what? And it makes sense that my second chart is when Saturn is retrograde, because he was coming back into my life, right? Number two, you know, with Saturn, it's not just the father, it's any, you know, authority, parental figure in your life. So I figured my mom would come up as well. My mom's actually 5-year death date, like death anniversary, was just a few days, 4 days after my second Saturn return hit. So it's very literal. And my prediction was that I was going to have a new relationship with my mother passing. At least that was my goal. And I definitely think I do, but it's definitely not in the way that I thought. I actually wound up spending my Saturn return, my second hit. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't realize it until actually after that I'd done this. I don't know why the things didn't click, but I spent it in New York, and I spent it seeing my friend in New York. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to be in New York for my mom's death day anniversary, her 5 years, because she always had a very strong connection. She lived in New York in her 20s, and she basically stayed in Vegas to be with my dad. But I could tell, you know, if it was up to her and my dad wasn't in my mom's life, she would have moved back to New York and probably spent quite a bit more time there. And so I thought it would, and me and my mom went to New York as a child together. It was one of my favorite trips we ever took, ever. It was a big deal to me. And so I just thought it was right to do. And I'm really glad that I did that. And I think that really helped me have a new relationship with my mom passing, because I wasn't around Vegas while I was dealing with that. And I do think a big theme is like being my own mom. Like, I think that I was acting, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know I was acting as my partner's mom for quite some time. And especially as a Cancer rising, I can find myself getting pigeonholed and getting stuck in, and I think a lot of women do, getting stuck in the mother role in a relationship rather than a girlfriend or a partner role. And that's definitely where I was very severely finding myself in my relationship. And it's not like this is some quiet, subtle thing. This was something that me and my ex would speak about a lot and get into arguments about a lot. So it was very up in our face. And I've just realized that during my Saturn return, I need to be my own mom, and I need to nurture myself in the way that I've been nurturing men that don't deserve it. And I need to not only be my own father like I've been for quite some time, but I also need to be my own mother and give that love to myself. And also being a mom to Pixie has been a big theme, because now it's just me and her. I do have my dog, I do have Pixie, but I did have to obviously leave behind the other 3 dogs, which was a really, really hard hard thing to do, especially Pixie's mom, who is called Mama. It was nice just having like Mama around, like having a mom in a weird way, even though she's a dog. She has this like grandma motherly energy to her, and that's been actually the hardest dog for me to leave. The other two were my boyfriend's dogs, and I always knew they were my boyfriend's dogs, and so I think I had a different relationship with them. But that dog, like Mama being my dog's literal mom, I felt like the worst piece of shit having to take Pixie away from her. And she's been the dog that I think about a lot, and I literally just cried about her last night. And that's been I would say probably the only hard part about moving, is leaving that dog, and the dogs in general, but especially her. I love her so much. But being a mother to Pixie, you know, especially thinking, a big theme has come up of, I think this has been my new relationship with my mom passing, is that being a mother to Pixie, whenever I get really sad and I cry about my mom and my mom passing, Pixie always knows, and she always comes up to me and she gives me kisses and she gives me love, and she keeps, you know, she just gives me kisses until I stop crying and I feel better, and it's very sweet and it means a lot to me. And since that's been happening, which it's always happened, but since it's just been us here, I've been realizing, like, if I dwell on my mom so much, then I'm missing the life that I have with Pixie. And that's not good, you know? And so that's been helping me be more present and be with Pixie more, because she's a dog. There's going to be one day that, chances are, you know, if I live that long, chances are there's going to be one day, I hope I outlive her because I need to be her mom forever. So the goal is to outlive her, or at least die at the exact moment she dies, you know? So if I'm a mom to Pixie, I don't want to be so worried about the fact, like, I mean, I'll always mourn my mom, but I need to be more present with her, because there'll be one day when I don't have her and I'll be crying about her and wishing that she could come up and give me kisses. And, you know, so that's been, I think, the biggest thing that's been giving me a different perspective on losing my mom, is that now I have this amazing gift from her, or whatever, from God or the world, or just an amazing gift that is her, the best dog ever. At least for me, she's the best dog ever. And I don't want to, you know, it's like a wake-up call. It's been a reality check. I don't want to be so much dwelling on the loss of my mom that I miss the life of this dog, who is like my soul dog, who has been everything to me. So that's been helping me a lot in a strange way. And she's just been helping me a lot, just existing and being her. And also it's helped me socially having a dog as well, because people like to come up and talk, and it's a conversation, and there's a dog park, and so it's a very social dog park. Everybody takes their dogs to the dog park, and so that's been helping with socializing as well. The third prediction that I had was being harsher towards people and having less patience. I mean, yeah, I'd say so. I'd say probably. I mean, I did break up with my boyfriend because I was harsher towards him and I had less patience. So yeah, I'd say, you know, 3-pointer with that one, got that one right. You know, don't need to dwell on that much. Number 4, loneliness. Yes, loneliness has come up very strong, just because I was super duper lonely when in the town that I was living in. And a part of that was a location crisis, which I did bring up and I will talk about. You know, I had no community, I had absolutely no friends, and there were no females around. Even if I would go out and about, it was a very much like old car guy town. I just couldn't find anybody that I could relate to, and it was just so challenging not to have nobody to talk about astrology with. My job was going so well, and it was just kind of hard, because I was like, I'm seeing all this success, but it's all happening in this bubble of this fake world called the internet. My life outside of the internet was not changing at all. It had remained the same and stagnant. And because my boyfriend was so broke, it's hard to feel like you're making more money when your partner is just always broke, no matter what. No matter if they're making money or not, they're just always going to be broke because they don't know how to spend money and save money, right? In the town that I was living in the area that I was living in, nobody was doing anything. It wasn't just my ex that was broke, it was everybody that's broke. Everybody's just gambling away their money, spending it on substances, you know, neglecting their kids, neglecting their dogs. And it's just like, why am I here? This is not the lifestyle that I should be living at all, you know? Basically, since I've been here, even though I moved somewhere where I don't know anybody, I have no ties to it, I have no connections to it whatsoever, even though I'm here and I live alone, I've not been lonely at all. There's, you know, I'm living in a really giant apartment complex. It's like basically made up of a bunch of, like, it kind of feels more like a townhouse. Like I have my own garage, I have my own stairway, like, you know, personal stairway with like a little entryway. Like if I'm lonely, all I need to do is walk my dog and hang out at the dog park for a second and somebody will walk by. If I'm lonely, all I need to do is go to a restaurant and the person next to me will probably strike up a conversation with me, and they'll probably be, and everybody here is really well kept, really nice, really friendly, but not overly friendly where it's like annoying and fake. It's just like I have not been lonely at all, even though I've been spending a lot of time alone. Because if I feel lonely, just go outside. And I didn't feel like that where I was living. You know, if I went outside, it was just like, oh God, I don't want these people to talk to me out of fear that they'll follow me home and stalk me or something. I don't know. I felt more lonely living with my ex, especially at the end of our relationship, because we were always fighting and there was a lot of coldness and distance. And I think it's a lot easier to feel alone when you're with somebody that you're, you know, probably not on speaking terms with for the day, or you're in the middle of an argument. And also my ex always had friends. He had his dad around. He had people that have known him his whole life that would validate his existence and validate the things that he said. And it made me feel lonelier. So it's been really nice not being living around anybody, because I felt less lonely, strangely enough, and I felt way lonelier living with somebody because it made me remember how lone, I don't know, it made me remind myself how I don't have anybody. Whereas here, it's just peaceful and it's nice, you know? And I have already been able to make friends, which is insane. You know, I was thinking about this when I was writing it, is that when I was younger, I think the song came out in 2012. There's this, I used to love Amanda Palmer, and there's a song called The Bed Song, well, and specifically the music video to The Bed Song. I watched that and it was very Venus square Saturn, Venus opposite Saturn. It's like the song of that aspect. And it reminded me of my parents. A lot of music doesn't make me cry. I'm not somebody that like listens to music and cries. But no matter what, whenever I watch that music video, or even just thinking about it now, I cry because it's so relevant. And my relationship, we both have Venus square Saturn natally. My relationship just felt like that, where it's like you're in this relationship and you're sleeping in the same bed, but you just keep drifting farther and farther apart to the other edge of the bed. And it's that kind of loneliness where the person's right there, but you've never felt so alone. So if you have that aspect, I know it's a long music video, but it really, I feel like, displays the energy of Venus Saturn perfectly. Having yourself is so much more than losing yourself to an unhappy relationship. And that's been a big theme that I've learned. I think a very Saturn and Aries theme. I don't think I'm alone in this. I think a lot of people, you know, having a boyfriend is embarrassing, right? Like that's trending. But it goes deeper than that, of course, where you just like girls learn that being alone can be so much more peaceful and so much more fulfilling to just take care of yourself than having to be a mother for some man. The fifth thing that I predicted was meltdowns and anger. I was absolutely right. When I broke up with my boyfriend, there was like maybe 2 months before I was able to, you know, pack up my stuff and find an apartment and move across the country. So we were living in this very strange limbo for a while where we were broken up, but we were still acting as a couple, and then we'd break up and get back together, and then we'd, you know, all that stuff. There were really, 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 really bad fights. Just a lot of yelling. It didn't get physical, thank God. We were both really strict with ourselves with that. But it did get super aggressive and angry and just, you know, saying the meanest, well, I was just saying things that I really felt and that I'd been feeling for a while, and he admittedly was just saying things that were just the meanest thing he could think to say to me. You know, anything that he could weaponize, he's going to weaponize. There's no line. Like whether that's Pixie, whether that's my mom, he's going to say something and weaponize it. It was really bad. And I realized that he was very much like he learned what to say to make me get into a meltdown. Then he'd just basically try to trigger a meltdown. And after a while, it really did feel like a schoolyard bully just picking on the autistic kid on the playground. And once I realized that, it really did shift my perspective into things, because I realized he was trying to get me to a meltdown, and it's not like it was just happening on accident. And that really shifted my perspective on things. Also, with my Saturn being in such a close opposition to my Mars, and that being such a strong, probably the strongest aspect in my chart, I feel like a part of it was like owning up to the fact that I am a Mars in Libra in the 4th house, and it's the people that are around me, specifically that I'm living with, that are causing me to have so many meltdowns. I mean, in normal day-to-day life, I'm not really bothered that much by people or by things. The only thing that I think could make me have a meltdown other than like a person is like something scary happening, you know, knock on wood, with like taxes or the government. Like that would cause me to lose it, but that doesn't really happen. I try to be a good person like that. But I mean, my God, it was my partner that was pushing and prodding me and poking me and causing all this stuff so much, you know, and a lot of times as a child, it was my parents, especially my dad, you know, and there's the stress of it all that would cause it. And obviously, like I was having a meltdown like every day, basically. Like I was trying to get myself reined in every single day. And since I have moved, I have not even thought about meltdowns or been close to one. You know, I've cried over my mom. That has happened, but that's a very different emotion than having a meltdown. I haven't even been close to one. I haven't got that feeling at all. And so definitely Mars and Libra's coming through, where it's like, okay, it is just the other person that pushes me to this a lot, you know? Since I've moved, I really haven't had any anger issues, haven't had any meltdowns, haven't gotten upset or angry or anything like that. So that's great. My number 6 prediction was dwelling on the past instead of looking forward. And I think a lot of the reason why I said this was because I was dwelling on the past so much because I just couldn't imagine the future, because I could have never imagined that this would be my future at that point. And also with it coming, you know, kind of retrograding back into Pisces to Aries, it makes sense that there's a little bit more dwelling. And with the Aries energy, it's all about looking forward. I was thinking a lot, like, there's no way that I could do this forever. Like, there's no way I can be in this relationship forever. How will I do this? How will I deal with this? Especially in a Mars way, on many angles, how am I going to do this relationship with my Mars? It's like, it's not plausible to keep going here. I can't do it anymore. And this is kind of going into the number 7, which is the location crisis. And I brought up how I was just really struggling with where I was living, and I felt like something needed to change or break. At that point, I was more concerned about my location than my relationship. But you know, those things go hand in hand. I can't be in that relationship unless I live there, and he's never going to move for various reasons. And basically a big thing was I realized that the 10th house is not just your career, obviously. It's also your legacy. And I realized what that truly means. And I don't think I realized what that meant truly before. And during my mom's first Saturn return, around that time was when she met my dad. My mom was living in New York at the time, and she got a contract to work as a showgirl in this like abracadabra magician show that my dad was the drummer in. And that's how they met. My mom was a showgirl, my dad was a drummer. I feel like I've said that a lot. Basically, when the contract for 6 months was up, she went back to New York. But then she missed my dad a lot. My dad sent her this ring, asked her to stay, and she wound up coming back, you know, subletting her apartment in New York and coming back. And then she wound up staying in Vegas permanently to be with my dad and, you know, working a bunch of shows and doing the showgirl thing consistently. And basically, she chose to be with my dad over the life that she wanted. I mean, Vegas was nice and it was good, but it was definitely not her goal. I felt like that came up hugely, was that realization that my mom was in the same position I was during my Saturn return, and she chose my dad. And when she died, when my mom got cancer and when she died, my dad immediately, I think he was cheating on my mom while she was dying, which is very common when women get cancer. And then he remarried within, I think it was like a year and a half or something. And he was dating consistently all during that time. And, you know, he basically replaced my mom. His dog died. He replaced that dog within 4 days, you know, and, you know, created a new life and doesn't want to talk about her. If I bring her up at all, she just basically leaves the room or pretends she doesn't exist. I just was like, I need to learn my mom's lesson, right? Like, that's a part of the legacy thing, right? Like, do I want to leave behind the same legacy that my mom left? Do I want to have a kid with this guy and be reminiscing about how I didn't travel the world, I didn't see any other places, and I just settled in this town because of my boyfriend, like my mom did? No, I need to learn her lesson, even if she's not around to tell me, you know? That's why it was so important for me to choose differently and change my legacy. Saturn and Aries, right? My mom's Saturn is in Capricorn in the 4th house, which makes a lot of sense with her choice of choosing family and responsibility in a lot of ways. And all she got from that was dying of cancer when she was 59. So I know how that ends. And all she got was being replaced. You know, and I know how that ends. I don't need to live that story again. And honestly, when I was a kid, I wished my whole life that my mom and I were in New York or in LA or just somewhere else. Like, I never was like, oh, thank God my mom settled in Vegas. Like, no, I was like, I really wish she would have chose differently. Like, even if that means me not being here in this form, that's fine. Like, that's how I felt as a little kid, because she just seemed so... She was always yearning for something else, and I don't want my child to have that energy and pass that down to them again. You know, that yearning and that feeling of unfinished business, you know? I wish my whole life my mom would have chosen herself and done the selfish thing. And we tried at one point. We actually moved to LA for a year, and that was one of my favorite times of my entire life. And so, you know, I chose the legacy of choosing something different. But all I know is that I need to do the Saturn Aries thing and selfishly choose myself. And I know that in choosing myself, it's choosing what's best for my future kids if I have them, because they'll have a happier mother. And that's more important than me, you know, confining myself to my partner's wants and demands, right? And also, if my mom didn't choose my dad, then I wouldn't have all the fucking issues I do that I inherited from him. No, I'm just kidding. I used to always think that as a kid. I remember as a kid, this is such a side note, but as a kid, like really, really little, I didn't know I was autistic, but I knew there was something wrong with me. And I would look at my dad and be like, why the fuck would you pass this down? Like, I would get so mad at him. I would be like, you know what you're like. Why the fuck would you give this to somebody else? And it would piss me the fuck off. Sure, people have a similar experience with their parents. I never felt that way with my mom ever, but always felt that way with my dad. I was like, what the fuck are you thinking, dude? Like, why do we need another one of this? So yeah, number 7 is location crisis. And I said, quote, this is huge. And I said, quote, it's gonna keep coming up. And it did. And then I also said, quote, if I ever wanted to, I could just drive over to my family home. Which ironically is exactly what I did. I was exactly 1 week, 7 days before I moved. I got the hair under my ass to go to my dad's house and show up. So that's exactly what I did and exactly why I wanted to move, because now it's great and I can't do that and we have this distance between us. And I also said, quote, I need to get out and create a new community and meet new people. Yes, that's exactly why I picked the place that I picked. There's a really big metaphysical community. The nature here is amazing. It's the perfect, like, mid-sized city amount of people that I want, where it's not this small town, but it's not a giant overarching city. It's a really, really nice in-between where there's not only a Walmart, but also a Target and grocery stores and various places that you can get food at, you know, a Whole Foods and Ingles or whatever the fuck that place is called. Like, it's not just that there's a Walmart, which was my old town, and there's a huge metaphysical community here, and and the weather is incredible, the seasons are incredible, the nature is incredible, the people are really cool, everyone here is very alternative, you know, I look like I was born and raised here, like, I fit here, finally, I feel like for the first time in my life. Number 8, I did bring up my boyfriend, and I said, I met my boyfriend during his Saturn return, and so I assumed that the relationship would in some way, form, or shape come up during my Saturn return. How? I didn't know. And I even mentioned that the first chart looked like a lot of our relationship charts, which I think I'll probably put up, you know, I didn't want to at the time because it felt a little private, but now I think I'll put up the charts of like previous relationships, like different, like the time we met. You'll see that it looked a lot like that chart, so I knew that that was gonna come up. I just didn't know how, and obviously it did. I broke up with my boyfriend, which thank God. Thank God I did that, like, truly. Yeah, that was good job, Shaina. That was a great decision, you know, super happy about it. I guess the way that comes up is that You know, as I told the story that my dad replaced my mom right after she died, even though while she was alive, he claimed that like, oh, I would never cheat, and this is my, you know, one and only wife, and we're going to be together forever, and I'm such a good husband, and I'm such a good dad. Like, he didn't say that, but that was like what was inferred and the vibe. Like, you know, even my friends would be like, your dad is such a good dad, you have such a good dad, and I'd be like, I know, I'm so lucky. But all men are the same, and all Scorpio moons, and Scorpio energy sucks. No, I'm just kidding. And when I left, just actually, it was on Halloween, which was about exactly a month after I left, my ex proposed, and he is now engaged. I mean, maybe they're married by now. I don't know what's going on. I haven't checked in since then. I'm never going to again. That was all I needed to know. But basically, you know, very Saturn return. It was not only was my mom's experience that she went through during her Saturn return reflected in mine, the location crisis. Am I going to stay and choose a family and a relationship, or am I going to choose me and do what I want for my life, right? So that came up, and then it also came up with my dad in the other way, in the reflection of, you know, when I was with him, he was like, I never want to be with anybody else. You're my wife. You're the parent to my kids. Like, how am I going to live without you? All the dramatics and stuff. And then, you know, I'm sure that they were talking and involved while we were still together. Like, I'm sure there was a lot of crossover that I don't know about, that I just was trying to leave and get out with. You know, there's already so much drama. I really just felt like I didn't need to add any more drama. And even if he was cheating, it was like, well, if he's cheating or not, I'm going to leave him no matter what. So what? He's cheating, and that's still going to make me leave. Like, it's not going to change anything, you know? So yeah, basically it proved, again, reiterated the fact that, you know, when you leave, people will just replace you. So don't stay with somebody just because you think that they need you. They don't need you. They just need a warm body next to them. And in my ex's case, they need somebody to pay the rent because he's broke, and they need somebody to financially support him and pick him up on the side of the street when his motorcycles or cars break down, as they do every single week. And so he needs somebody, right? And so he can't be without somebody. He's, you know, and so you will be replaced. So don't stay with somebody for a relationship. He, you know, criticized my dad for replacing my mom and for replacing his dog as well, the whole entirety of our relationship. And then he just turned around and did the same thing. So projection is a bitch, guys. Projection is real. And he was projecting on me the whole time that I was cheating when I wasn't. And I'm sure he was cheating the whole time that he was projecting onto me that I was cheating. So very Scorpio, very Libra rising. He basically did the exact same thing that my dad did. All men are the same, but sure, not all men, right? Whatever. Okay, that was really long to talk about, you know, the reflections. This is already, I thought this would be a pretty short video, and somehow I'm still really good at talking and making this stuff really long. Good to know that hasn't changed. So yes, that is my reflections on the predictions that I said, if they came true or not. I think pretty much every single thing that I said was pretty relevant and came true. Now, I did not predict breaking up with my boyfriend, but I did predict a location crisis, and I did predict that something would come up with my boyfriend. But honestly, I'm very happy that this is the way that it turned out. This is the best way it ever could have turned out. So now let's talk about my second Saturn return chart that happened this past, was it July? Yeah, July. That happened at the end of the past July. And actually, a few days after my second Saturn return was when I decided to book the flight to North Carolina to visit it, because I knew that would be the only time that I would be able to do that. It was really, that was the first time I'd ever been away from my ex in the entirety of our relationship, was when I went to New York to visit my friend. And so I knew, you know, that was the only time that I'd be able to see this place, see this town, see apartments, and see if I liked it and wanted to move here. And so that's what I did. And so right around the time of my second Saturn return was when I was scoping out North Carolina and, you know, trying to move here, basically. And yes, it does matter where you are for your Saturn return, because if I was in Pahrump, the town that I lived in, like I thought I was going to be for my Saturn return, I would be a Gemini rising, and most things would have fallen in my third house or different houses in general, and it was a very different chart. So definitely the fact that I chose to be in New York during this time set in motion, and, you know, go to North Carolina set in motion the fact that I was going to leave. So every cause has an effect, right? So because of that, in this second Saturn return chart, I am, as I mentioned, a triple Leo, which is just so different to my natal chart, so different to the first Saturn return chart where there's a lot of water, heavy Scorpio energy. It makes sense. I was going through a breakup. I was being manipulated, he was withholding towards me. He was keeping secrets. He was lying. He was claiming that I was cheating on him when I wasn't doing anything. I was just trying to get the fuck away from him. He was just being every Scorpio stereotype you could ever imagine. And it makes sense that I was a Virgo moon. I was trying to keep my head on straight throughout it, even though I don't think I did that super well. At least I got out. So yes, this chart is just so different. And I think it makes sense that I am a triple Leo. And when I saw that, when I was looking at this chart in preparation, it just made me really happy. It made me really happy because I realized, like, yeah, it's literally just about me right now. Like, my life is literally just about me, making me happy, making decisions that are totally and shamelessly self-serving. You know, I do have Pluto on top of the 7th house descendant because Pixie is definitely a very strong 7th house energy in my life. Like, she is my mirror. We even look alike, kind of. People say that we look alike, which I really like because I'm a 7th house person. So, you know, even though I don't have that like 7th house person or relationship, she has been and she is natally Pluto in the 7th house. She has been taking that role, funny enough, of the 7th house person. I've been going with her everywhere, taking her everywhere. It literally, since I've moved here, we've been apart for a total of 2 hours. And even then I was like, I should have just taken her with me. Like, I don't leave her. She comes everywhere. We are attached at the hip. It makes sense. Pluto in the 7th house. But other than that, it's just been me, myself, and I doing things that I want to do, when I want to do them, how I want to do them, why I want to do them. Just totally do not give a shit about what anybody else wants. There's nobody in my life telling me what to do, how to do it. I am my own boss. I am my own authority. The only person I answer to is my dog, which that's what I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It truly is the perfect balance of being alone, but never feeling alone. And I love the fact that I still have this responsibility to her. I do. It keeps me grounded and it keeps me on my shit, but not in a way that's like bad or unhealthy like it used to be, where I was like, God, I have all these demands, da, 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 da. Like, you know, if I clean something, guess who made the mess? Me. And that's amazing. I'm not picking up after anybody else's mess. Pixie's a clean little girl, I must say. So yeah, fuck yeah, I'm a triple Leo and I'm happy about it. Honestly, I'm the center of my life. Like, this Saturn in Aries is selfish. Fuck yeah, it's selfish. I think I said that I recently had Lilith moving into my 1st house in my progressed chart. And yeah, I do. Fuck you. And you know what's also really nice about this chart? No, I don't love that I have an interception. It's okay. It makes sense. But I do love the fact that I do not have Scorpio in my 4th house. I think it's because I got away from that. I have Libra ruling my 4th house, which makes so much sense. It's so girly and peaceful and lovey and kind. It's very positive Libra energy in the 4th house, honestly. And this environment is super friendly. Like, it really is where I'm living. It's super homey. But yeah, so Leo rising, mostly well aspected, right on top of my sun. And I've also been finding myself. That's been a big theme. Finding myself, rediscovering my sense of style, my sense of fashion. I wasn't really able to dress up much. I would only kind of dress up for YouTube videos and like if we go on dates. And by date, I mean I would take him out and then we'd have to go and do car stuff and it was never that fun and he would never even shower and I'd have to pay for everything, right? And if I didn't, then I would never hear the end of it, as though he like, you know, bought the Taj Mahal for me, but really he just like paid for half of his food. Anyways, I should move on from that. If you're in that situation, leave. So it's just been amazing. I've been on purely my schedule, my timing, my everything. And I have been absolutely loving it. Like, I've been going places alone too, like totally shamelessly, especially because I do have Pixie. I don't ever feel like I'm going somewhere alone. Like, I feel like when you go somewhere alone by yourself, you're kind of creepy and people are like, what are you doing? But when you have a dog, everybody has a dog here. This is a super big dog town, especially like a big dog town. So everybody has a big dog with them and it's super common. So it's like so normal to just walk around, go places with your dog. Most places are dog friendly. I mean, I can take her anywhere because she's a service dog, but like most places are just in general dog friendly. People walk their dogs all the time. So I can kind of get away with being alone and not being creepy, which is really nice because I have her. So I've been doing everything alone, and I've been loving it because I haven't been able to do that for so long because I've had a partner or I've been living with somebody in some form or shape. Let's see here. I do have Sun opposite Pluto, which makes sense. I mean, I do have stuff going on with my father. Like, let's be real. And I was very, very controlled. And I mean, still, I'm being controlled by my dog and what she wants. And she is very demanding. She is an Aries. But it's okay. Like, she's such a good girl. She deserves it. Yeah, I've just been, you can tell, like, I'm happy and trying Saturn. I feel like I made the right decision. I feel like I'm finally for the first time like fully aligned with myself. And I've been totally talking about myself a lot too. This whole video is just me talking about myself. In TikToks, I've been talking about myself. Like, I'll totally own up to the fact that I have been your stereotypical Leo, thinking about myself, talking about myself, making myself the center of my life, making me the center of my own attention, dressing up when I go out and looking ridiculous, and I don't really give a shit because it's fun. Oh, I think that's what I interrupted myself. But yeah, I couldn't dress how I wanted in the town that I lived in because it was very dirty and dusty, and it would get very muddy very easily, especially. I had 4 dogs that were shedding and always very dirty. Everything was always just very dirty. My ex was very dirty and he was very messy. And so I just couldn't really wear anything nice because it would just get destroyed and it would just be disgusting and there'd be no point. So I would really not dress up that much, and I can finally dress up again for the first time in so long, like years. Because even before that, I lived in this mountain town and I couldn't really dress up like there either. So it's been since I lived in LA in like 2020 that I've really been able to dress up. My Mercury is in Leo in the first house. Been talking about myself, like I said, try my midheaven, been talking about myself online all the time. I think we'll finally get to a little bit of a break after this video, you know, but yeah, definitely I will validate that. I've been me, 1000%, and I'm proud of it, which makes sense because it's pretty much well aspected. And I mean, the Sun opposite Pluto makes sense. I mean, my ex got engaged a month after we broke up. You know, it's very opposite Pluto energy, right? Oh, also I should say the fiance's name is Emily. So I think a lot of you guys have heard this already if you're on my TikTok, but that's also very like Leo in the first house. Like, I'm such a 7th house person, and also that's very Pluto in the 7th house too. I'm such a 7th house person. I'm used to being the person that's like, wear this girl's skin, you know, like put her skin on and wear her and act like her. Like, that's normally like what I think guys do. You know, we're like, you're like this, and I'm gonna tell you what you're like, and you're gonna have to act like it, you know. And now with this situation, I've been the Leo first house person, you know, rather than the 7th house person. The girl's name is Emily. Where he proposed was a place that we would go all the time, and we went last year. The outfit that he even like put her in the shirt that when we went to that same event last year, he put me in the shirt that he put her in, and then he proposed to her in the shirt that I wore the year before, and he even made a post about her wearing that shirt that said the exact same thing when I wore that shirt, because the shirt was the shirt he had from when he was a kid, and it was like a kid's shirt. But yeah, very, very first house. She messaged me a few times, and that really bothered me, and I blocked her. She even like tried to be like pompous and be like an asshole and be like, thanks for the mug, girly pop, and like sent me a picture of a mug that I left there. But little does she know, I had multiples of that mug and I have one of those exact mugs here with me, which is why I left that mug there. And so I sent her a picture of that exact same mug that I have with me, and I said, twinsies, again. And then I blocked her again, and then again I said, please leave me alone. I'm taking down the video, because I had a video where I talked about them, and so I was like, I'm taking it down in hopes that you leave me alone, because I'm always gonna win this. I'm just kidding. First house energy, you know, it's weird. I'm not usually the first house person. I'm usually her, I think. And I think I was her in my relationship with my ex, and I'm sure that he had put another girl in that shirt and gone to the same place before me, you know, so I'm sure it's the same thing. I actually do know that he had an ex before me that was a Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon, Capricorn Mercury, but instead of a Cancer rising, she was a Libra rising. And it was in her 3rd house, also an air house, instead of it being in my 7th house, which is an air house. So I'm sure that I was the 7th house person to her. I never, you know, contacted her or, you know, was in her life at all, but I'm sure. Now we also have Leo moon. It's cusping the 1st house and the 2nd house, which makes sense. I am, you know, I have my own place. I have my own items. I'm getting more into my fashion again, even though I haven't bought clothes since like 2020. So everything I own is a little outdated. I'm not even gonna lie. I know, I'm aware. Try my best with the clothes that I have from 2020 and like 2015. So it makes sense it's in the 2nd house. I've also, you know, there's more financial stress and pressure since I've moved here. So that makes sense as well. You know, I'm also working and like, you know, making my own money and that kind of getting that cemented. It makes sense. I've also, a big reason I moved also was the food. The food here is incredible. Like, it's exactly the way that I like to eat. I can't believe anybody here likes the food because I have horrible taste in food. Like, I just don't think anybody would like to eat what I eat. Every restaurant here is exactly the kind of foods that I like to eat. And it's so good and so fresh. It's amazing. And where I used to live, there was like 2 fast food places and like 2 restaurants, and they were just disgusting and garbage. And it was like the most, it was so bad, and the ingredients felt old and stale and gross. And here, everything's so fresh and amazing and tasty and unique, and I love it. It's just exactly how I like to eat. There's meat here a lot, but it's such a like progressive place that there's always vegetarian or vegan options, which is incredible. So yeah, moon sextile Venus, which is interesting because I did break up with my boyfriend, but I've been feeling so happy being alone and so happy single. It feels more like me. Like, really, being in a relationship felt so not like me. You know, it was just like from 0 to 21, I was not at all involved in any sort of real sort of relationship in any way, form, and shape. I mean, I was never even asked out to a dance. I never went out on a date until I was, I mean, no guys ever, one guy kind of took me out on a date when I was like, how old was I? Like 21, 22? I would say he took me out on a date. But other than that, I couldn't even get my boyfriend to take me out on a date. I always had to take him out on a date. Other than that, I've never really been taken out. Nobody really asks me out. I don't really have suitors. Like, you know, like I was totally single my entire childhood. I didn't even have like a fling with a guy, like just nothing at all. So this is what I'm used to. This is like so much more aligned with me and feels so true to me. And I was such a friendship person growing up. Like, I always had my best friend. I always had a little bit of like a friend group. And that's what I've been trying to make here, which it makes sense. My Venus is in Gemini in the 11th house, and it's intercepted. So very friendship oriented. That is the friendship energy, right? Which I'll get into more of that in a second. Well, I guess I'll say it now since I'm already here, right? Venus intercepted. I have no interest in a relationship at all. I need to be single right now, and I want to be single right now, but I have a huge, huge interest in friendships, building community for the first time in my life. Like, you know, the community that I want with astrology, you know, getting to know my neighbors in a way that I never have before. It's been super friendship, community oriented, and that's what's been so important to me. And that I feel like is connecting me back to my true 7th house nature. Moon square Uranus, it makes sense. Like, everybody's like, you really just packed up and moved here from Vegas. Like, was there, like, why? Like, why? Because I wanted to? I don't know. Like, there was nothing for me there. So chances are there's more for me here. Like, it's just true. But yeah, I called it the crazy girl aspect, which made sense. I had wild ass emotions while I was, you know, breaking up with my ex. Oh my God. So it didn't even make sense to me. I was so turbulent. I was unpredictable to myself. Like, and yeah, when I tell people I moved here, it's kind of like most people from here are from Florida, New York, or like South Carolina. Like, that's pretty consistently the vibe. And so yeah, I'm a little bit like of a random here, but I know more people are going to be moving here. It's just like, you can't keep this place a secret for too long. It's too cool. But yeah, now we have Mars and Virgo, and guys, y'all always shit on me when I say Mars and Virgos are prudes, but it's like, I'm a prude right now. Like, when I saw that I was a Mars and Virgo, I was like, yeah. Because I am 100% a prude right now. I am like, don't fucking touch me. Don't even look at me. Don't sexualize me. Like, I don't want you coming near my personal space at all. Like, total Mars and Virgo prude territory. So y'all can't deny the Mars and Virgo prude allegations. Like, it's just true. It's just how it is. You know, good for them. They have very strong boundaries, very strong limitations. They kind of only do most of the time the traditional stuff, unless it's like in the second house and they're being paid to do something else. But like, Mars and Virgo's a prude. I'm a prude right now. Like, it's so true. You know? So there you go. It makes sense that it's opposite Saturn. Like I said, I'm like, don't nobody fucking touch me. And it makes sense it's opposite Neptune. The only action I'm getting is in my mind and in my fantasies. And honestly, when I was with my ex, the only action I was getting was in my mind and in my fantasies. Like, it was like dormant. Like, it's true for even when I was in the relationship, honestly. Venus square Mars makes sense. I have been thinking about that aspect more and how much it strongly plays out in my life, because I had an ex situationship, which I was in an open relationship with, and I consider him the Mars side of my Venus square Mars. He was the Mars relationship where I was like, it was great in the bedroom. It was the most compatible I've ever been with anybody. Probably some of the best, I guess I'll say, intimacy, to not be vulgar, with somebody that I've ever had. Like, it was just like, I don't think many people get to experience that level of like chemistry in the bedroom, honestly. And even he would say that. He'd be like, you know, it wasn't just me thinking that. It was him being like, I don't think you understand how rare and weird this is. Like, this isn't usually common in a relationship to be like 3 or 4 years in and still be like every day, multiple times a day, you know? And then I got in my second relationship and I was like, he was not lying. He was really trying to tell me something. But I've said this before, I was not attracted to him physically. So that is that square to Venus square Mars. The Mars was satisfied in that relationship, but the Venus wasn't. We also weren't in an official relationship. This relationship, I was with him because I thought he was wildly attractive. And I've had people be like, oh my God, I didn't think he was attractive at all. What are you, crazy? I know, it's fine. You don't have to think he's attractive. I have a weird type. I know that, okay? I don't like most people. I don't find most people attractive. I was just so excited to finally find somebody attractive. I like couldn't believe it. Like, pretty much everybody I've been with, I think are ugly. And I'm just like, ugh, I'm just horny, you know? Like, what the fuck? I'm 20. I want to be with, you know? But everyone I think is fucking ugly. And I couldn't believe how attractive I thought he was. But there was really, like, in my opinion, like, no chemistry in the bedroom at all. And he was like, he has his own, you know, onslaught of issues, which I won't bring up. Yeah, he was my Venus relationship and the other guy was my Mars relationship. So it makes sense that Venus square Mars has been in my mind as a very true aspect. And Mars trine Uranus makes sense because I'm very weird and like, yeah, I don't know. My Mars is weird. 5th house, Lilith and Scorpio makes sense because there was just all these undertones of these relationship stuff that was going on. I've talked a little bit about Pluto in the 7th house. I mean, it's so Pluto in the 7th house to go through a breakup and have that person betray you. You know, I mean, betray me. I knew he was gonna replace me. I mean, I'm not stupid. He told me that. He told me his dad told him to replace me. Like, he 1000%, I knew he was going to replace me. I didn't expect him to get engaged. I thought he would just kind of like knock her up and like trap her that way. But I guess he's like doing the, you know, he's at least gesturing to get engaged, even though I'm sure that's his only goal. But yeah, it's very Pluto in the 7th house. You know, I have a cousin with Pluto in the 7th house natally. As an example, his high school girlfriend basically almost sent him to jail because of they were doing something illegal together and he broke up with her, and so she told on him to the principal, and he spent a lot of his younger high school years trying to avoid jail because of his ex. So, you know, I mean, I think I got away good with the fact that all he did was get engaged to somebody. He didn't destroy any of my things, which I took a lot of precaution to make sure he didn't, which I got a lot of heat for from him, but I'm glad I did those precautions, even if it made more arguments. He was very, very mean to me, and I was pretty mean to him, but my meanness was true and honest. He was just trying to hurt me. So, also people are a little bit afraid of me here because they're afraid of my dog. So definitely Pluto in the 7th house. Some people are a little bit afraid of my dog. Not everybody, but every now and then, you know, certain people are going to be afraid of my dog because she's a pit bull mix, so it makes sense. And I kind of like that, which it makes sense. It's not totally poorly aspected. She keeps me safe. She's literally like my bodyguard. And I actually saw a dog psychic, and the dog psychic was like, she likes that she has a job to do, which makes sense. She has a 10th house stellium. And I've always felt that way. Like, she likes having a job and a duty, but then she also likes knowing that it's her time, and I take her on walks and I let her do what she wants. So I think that she feels very protective of me in the same way that I feel protective of her, which is that very like 7th house mirror. Like, we feel very responsible for each other, honestly. And she keeps me safe just in the same way that I keep her safe. Like, I think the reason why I can go out and be alone and do things is because I have her. And so nobody's gonna fuck with me with her. They don't. People are scared of her, and I'd like to keep it that way. They don't need to be scared of her, but I like that if somebody's weird and comes up to me or is close, I can be like, be careful, she's vicious, she's mean. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, and she's not. Like, but it's good. And I mean, she would defend me if anything happened. I know she would. And the dog psychic said that too. Yes, I did go to a dog psychic. I didn't even mean to go to a dog psychic. This place is so up my alley. I went to this metaphysical event with her, of course, and there just happened to be a dog psychic there. And I was like, this is the place I am meant to be. I also got a doggy aura photo of hers done as well. This is the place I'm meant to be at. And I literally live right next door to cows, okay? So I live right next door to cows, and I can go to the doggy psychic. This is like, what's more ideal? I also have double Leo Aquarius. That's my doubles. That's my doubles. It's my doubles in my natal chart. It's my doubles in my progress chart. Those are my doubles. That's my vibe. I'm double Leo Aquarius. So it makes sense. It's true to me. 9th house energy. I mean, come on. I moved across the country. When I first looked at my Saturn return chart, I was accidentally looking at the one for if I did my Saturn return in Pahrump, and I was like, how is there no 9th house stuff? This just doesn't feel like it resonates. This feels like I stayed in Pahrump. Makes sense. This does not feel like I stayed in Pahrump, right? It was like North Node. The farthest I've traveled was New York. Yes, I've been to New York, but other than that, the farthest I've traveled is Colorado. So Colorado to New York, I haven't been to any of those states in between there at all. And so this was my first time going to the East Coast, and I've never had any family like live in the South. Like, my family's from New York and Kansas City and Colorado. We're not at all from the South. This is the first time I think any of my family has stepped foot in the South, even though it's not, I guess it's the South, but it's like South light. In my opinion, especially the place that I'm living, it's super duper liberal. And so it feels very safe. But yeah, no, it's so new. Like, it's so random, but it works. At least it has been working. I don't know if it changes, things change and I can move, but it has been working. So yeah, Saturn in the 9th house, that makes sense. I feel like it was my destiny to move here. Saturn square Venus, come on, these are my 2 natal aspects. This actually looks really similar to my natal Saturn aspects. It's not the same, but we have the same T-square. We have my same T-square coming in. It's just in different energies. Normally it's Libra and Sagittarius, but this time it's Gemini and Virgo. But I have Saturn opposite Mars, and then Venus being at the apex, which that makes sense because the relationship that I was in, the person that I was with, I felt like brought up all of those themes really strong, And honestly, I feel like I'm following my dreams. I don't have these aspects though. Venus square Neptune makes sense. I'm kind of really coming to terms with how just delusional I was. And I said I had Venus square Neptune in my transit chart as I transit, and then it became Venus square Saturn. So it makes sense that these 2 aspects are coming up again because it was even happening in my transits. And yeah, I'm realizing how delusional I was. And I'm also realizing like a big part of my healing has been like, why did I have so few boundaries that I allowed myself to get into a relationship like that? That has been the biggest core theme around the breakup that's been the hardest for me to wrap my head around is, why was I with this person? Maybe not in the first place. Like, I get why I liked him initially, but why? My dad kicked me out. I had nowhere else to go. I kind of had to live with him. But like, why was I with him for so long? Why did I do that? Why were there were so many red flags that Venus and Scorpio should have been the first one. Like, dead ass. Like, there were so many red flags. Why did I look past them? Why did I not trust myself? Why did I not trust not even my intuition, but just what was literally right in front of my face? So that's been my biggest healing, is like, do I hate myself? Do I have no self-respect? That's why I'm so happy that there's all that Leo energy in the first house, because I've been really feeling like I must have really hated myself. I must have no self-respect to have been in this relationship. And that's been, I think it's a very square Neptune. And also, oh my God, when we would get into arguments, he was just blatantly lying and blatantly gaslighting me and blatantly just like trying to cause a meltdown, like very Mars opposite Neptune. And I was like falling trapped to all of it. So it makes sense. But I have been connecting more spiritually in a positive way, right? Saturn, Sun, trine, Neptune. I've been really trying to be honest and real with myself about my delusions, you know? So I think this is fixable and I think I can get this under wraps. And as long as I keep moving forward in the way that I am, AKA being single and just making friends, I think that I can heal and never be in this situation ever again, which that's been my big theme. I want to learn my lesson. I want to learn the lessons that Saturn is teaching me in relationships. And I want to never find myself in the same situation again. Even I'm sure I'll make mistakes, and maybe even if I get into another relationship, I still might make a mistake, but Lord, please let it be a different mistake. Let it be a different lesson. Please, I need to learn. And the lesson that I need to learn is to never be with a broke man ever again. Truly, you know, moon in the second house, right? Okay, my midheaven is in Aries. It's well aspected. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. I've been loving my job. I mean, no complaints. Moon trine, Mercury trine, Venus sextile. No complaints. Love my job. Love to do this forever. You know, it's great. I love being my own boss. I fucking love it. I even love the hate comments. I do. I'll admit it. As a Saturn in Aries in the 10th house, and with this Aries midheaven, I love arguing online in the comments. I think it's so fun. It's such a nice little hobby. Okay. I mean, the nice comments, of course, like teach me and change things, but very Aries. Okay, so I have my 5th house and 11th house intercepted. That's my natal interception, but it's Gemini Sagittarius, which is my progressed interception. This looks a lot, actually, kind of like the setup of my progressed chart. In my progressed chart, I'm a Leo rising, around the same degree. I have double Leo Aquarius, and I've intercepted Gemini and Sagittarius in the 5th house, so this aligns here. It makes sense. Okay, and it's actually really close, not exact, but it's really close to my same setup as my relocation chart for North Carolina. I'm a Leo rising, I think around like early degrees, double Leo Aquarius. The only difference is that I have an intercepted Taurus Scorpio, which is like my natal chart, which I'd actually rather have than intercepted Gemini Sagittarius. I have been a little bit apprehensive to really like go out and party. This is actually a really big party town. I didn't expect that. It's a very big beer town. I love beer. Another reason why I fit in, it's my favorite thing to drink. It's like a bunch of craft beers here. There's like a trillion breweries. It's like known for their breweries. So yet again, another thing that's perfect for me, randomly enough. So I've been like doing that, but I have not gone out and partied. A big reason is because I don't want to leave Pixie alone. Like I just don't for that amount of time. Like I said, I left her alone for an hour at one point and another hour at the other point, but I just was stressing out about the fact that she was home alone. And even though I had a camera, like, so separation anxiety, I have separation anxiety from her. She has separation anxiety from me. Pluto in the 7th house, it does make sense. I'll admit to the fact that I just don't think I can be without her right now either. But yeah, so it makes sense. Sagittarius intercepted in the 5th house. I haven't been really wanting to go out much. I'm also really scared of going out and like, I don't want to meet somebody. Like I really don't. So I've kind of been like, you know what? I think it's for the best if I kind of just go to bed early and wake up early and I just meet friends and I meet a community. I don't need to be staying out after dark. Not that I'm not drinking or having fun. I am, but it's very casual. I haven't even been drunk once since I got here, you know. Yeah, it makes sense that it's intercepted. And it's fine. I'm actually fine that it is. I think it's for my best because I'm in no place to get involved with anybody in any way, form, or shape right now. It's cruel to them, and it's cruel to me. So yes, but that 11th house stuff makes sense. I'm not an 11th house person, but I'm really trying to be more of an 11th house person. Obviously, I have an online presence, so that's a part of it. Also, I'm trying to make friends. I mean, even Uranus is a very friendship-oriented energy. I've been reconnecting with old friends, reconnecting with old family members, you know, even my aunt I reconnected with, which was so amazing and incredible, which I think is kind of that energy too. Seeing the world, traveling, being in a different time zone for the first time in my life. Like, it really is just different. It's different. Every state in America is like its own country, and that's very true, and it became even more true to me the more I traveled through the country. Is my Uranus pretty healthy? Oh yeah, moon square Uranus, moon opposite Lilith. That makes sense. Breaking free, soaring, flying away from my ex as far as I can go. And you know what? I kind of laughed at myself for being like, do I really need to be this dramatic? Which is very triple Leo. Like, do I really need to be this dramatic when I break up with my ex and move like literally as far across the country as I can on the complete opposite side? And I kind of was like, this is kind of goofy to have to do this. Like, why can't I just move to Vegas or move somewhere close? But you know what? There's not enough space between us. Like, I am so glad that I know I will never run into him. Like, and I am so glad there is a whole country between us, because I am not a Venus-Pluto person at all, okay? I don't want anything to do with on again, off again, being in the person's life, all that stuff. Like, if I can get it so they never message me again, never hit me up again, never show up on my life again, like I keep on blocking them and, you know, and that's, you know, I would like to get, I mean, I love having a whole country in between us. Like, it is great. And in a weird way, I kind of feel like that is 11th house energy and opposite Lilith in the 5th house. I mean, it makes sense. And this relationship did feel very Lilith in the 5th house in Scorpio. Like, I was like just intoxicated with him for some unknown reason. I just found him so attractive and that was it. And that got me stuck. And now I'm like, this is stupid. Like, you guys know this. I've always struggled with aligning my politics with like Democrat or Republican. I don't feel like I fit into either, and I have issues with both, even though I am a very, like, you know, liberal person. I don't associate myself with the Democratic Party at all because I don't like politics at all, and I hate politicians, and I just don't trust anybody, and I don't trust the government, which is very intercepted. 11th house if you ask me, but it has been so nice being around people that are very like, because my town was like a very Trump town, the Pahrump town that I lived in, and I just didn't resonate with it and I didn't like it, which again is more of a reason why I isolated, why I had no interest in having friends. And here, you know, it's very like gay rightsy, very liberal, very open-minded, very obviously open-minded. I mean, there's dog aura photos and dog psychics here, you know, there's healing sound baths every Sunday, and there's a drum circle that happens in the main park every Friday night. Like, it's very Uranus in the 11th house in a way that feels really nice to me. So even though I don't align with maybe the Democratic nominees that, you know, that exist, I do feel like I align, which it makes sense because it's intercepted, right? But I do feel like I do align a lot more with the vibe, the open-mindedness, and just the general like expression. Everybody has really unique clothes and outfits and interests. Everybody's a very unique person here. Even if like the old women here even are like stunting, like the old women here, like they make me excited to age because they look so fucking good and they have their own thing going, and everybody's just got their own vibe, and I just really like it. Even if it's not mine, I just like that they're their own person, it feels like. So it makes sense. And yeah, like I already talked about Venus in the 11th house. I just want to make friends. And thank God it's intercepted. I'm trying to propel love interest energy and enter friendship camaraderie energy, and that's really what's been going on. This place is very community oriented. I think maybe it's just the South too in general, but like on the West, I've said this, but people just go to work, at least in Vegas, and people just go to work and they come home. People don't go to places. People don't go to events. People just gamble if they go places, you know? And here, people go to the parks. People go with their family and they play volleyball at the park. People go to events. Like I said, if there's an event that's happening, there's going to be people there, and they're going to be like open and into it. Like, people are allowed to care here. Like in Vegas and LA, it's like not cool to care. And it's like cool to show up and just be on your phone or even not show up at all. But here, people want to make connections in a very genuine way. People want to go out and do things and be fun and decorate for Halloween and dress their dog up for Halloween and you know, decorate their place for Christmas. Like, people are corny in the most amazing, beautiful, honest, genuine way here. And I think maybe it's my Cancer rising. I love it. I love the spirit, the festivities, the enthusiasm. It's exactly what I want. And I feel like that's represented by this Venus in the 11th house. You know, sextile my moon, sextile my midheaven. It makes sense. And of course, it's got some bad aspects. I am totally healing from a dumbass relationship I was in. You know what I mean? And then finally, we have Jupiter in the 12th house in Cancer, unaspected with part of fortune in the 12th house. My mom's back around, and I feel like she's back in my life in a healthy way. I told you guys that when I was leaving Vegas, I kept on having this image of my mom as like this succubus. I don't know how else to call it. Like this succubus had like taken over my mom, and who I thought was my mom was not my mom. And even if that's not literal and it's just figurative and it was just showing up like as like a figurative example in my brain, I still think it speaks volumes to how I feel as though my ex was kind of manipulating my mom, and how I loved her so much. I felt like he was manipulating her. Oh, she wants you to be here. I saw this thing and this shows that your mom needs to be here and stuff. And he was obviously manipulating the situation, and this entity that was not my mom was playing as my mom. And since I've gotten here, I've been able to disconnect that. And I feel like now, and I did this whole like, weirdly enough, I did this whole like, you know, thing on Samhain, on Halloween, to kind of get my mom back and get the entity that was kind of taking her over out. Whether you believe in that or not, it being figurative is still relevant to me, if that makes sense. And now I feel like she's here in the way that she should be, and she's back. When I think of her, I see her and I see that old image of her fading away, you know, in a good way. I feel like I'm making my mom proud as well for the first time in a way that I didn't think I would make her proud. I felt as though this was going against her in some strange way, like leaving all that stuff. And I had felt like she had given Clay to me in a way. And I felt like she had at first, because I needed to get out of this situationship that I was in, and Clay was my out and was why I moved home. But then I felt like she needed to get me out of that too. And I feel like finally I'm making a decision in my life that makes her proud. And it's for the first time not the decision to be an actress, which was, I felt like the only thing that would ever make her proud was if I was a famous actress. That would be the only way to make her happy. And now I feel like I'm at a point where doing what I want and what makes me happy is making her happy too. And I feel like she's proud of this decision that I made to move and be on my own and be single, because she is a Libra rising and she is a Venus in the 7th house. And she struggled a lot with being single and not being in a relationship. I mean, I've read her journals. So she had a lot of this like Aries Libra juxtaposition strong going on, where she was very confident and very like forward with relationships, but then she would bend to them in the same way that I did. And so I just feel like that's that part of fortune in the 12th house in Cancer, which is a placement I have natally. With a conjunct Jupiter, it feels like my mom is around me again and protecting me in a very positive way. And even though it's not tethered to any planet, she's not literally physically here and helping me, I do feel as though she is proud of me. And I do also feel in a strange way Pixie is here to help me and is also that kind of part of fortune in the 12th house, like this just really special spiritual connection that I do feel like I have with her. And the fact that we're both Cancer risings, I love both being Cancer risings. I feel like I understand her and I connect with her, and she's very cuddly and sweet. But then I also like the fact that her placements are very different of mine. Outside of that, with the Aries Taurus energy, where I feel as though she's her own personality and she's her own person, and we're very different like people, even though she's a dog. But I love the fact that we're able to connect with that Cancer energy. So it makes sense that there's Cancer energy in my 12th house, because it does feel like, you know, we're the only persons that know what that life was like before this. I feel like there is a little bit of like a guardian angel kind of keeping me safe right now. I had a very, very safe trip from Pahrump to here. You know, nothing really bad happened, and I worked very hard to make sure nothing bad happened and that we were safe, and that, you know, the car and the truck were in tip-top position, and if anything happened, and I air tag, you know, everything. I was really, you know, very Virgo Mars with it. It makes sense. I feel like I have been kind of divinely protected this past little bit in a lot of ways. That is the breakdown of my second Saturn return chart. And as far as predictions go for my next chart, I do have, as you'll see, a lot of stuff in the 12th house. It is a little bit nerve-wracking. I feel like I'm like, am I going to recede more into myself? I'm not sure, but I do think it's probably what I need. I do think that I need some spiritual isolation, and it does make me feel, also with that Jupiter and Cancer in the 12th house, I mean, I love my job and I love astrology, and I feel like I'm really understanding it even more and owning up to the fact that I've always understood it. I just felt like I didn't want to be, everybody already thinks I'm like very judgmental with the way I go about astrology, but I feel like I was cutting it too much slack, and I feel like I can be more honest about what I really think of things and what I really know. And I always knew that Venus in Scorpio would act exactly how he acted, and I was right, and I should own that and know that instead of giving it a chance. I don't think I need to give this shit a chance. I think I know what I like and what I don't like astrologically, and I need to stick by that and be true to that. And if something looks like a red flag, it is a red flag, and it will play out that way in the exact way that I think and know it will, and I'm right. Which is very like Leo first house too. I'm right, you can't tell me jack shit. I know myself and I know how I do astrology. That doesn't mean I know how you do astrology, but I know my way and I know that it works for me. And it works for my readings. I don't know if this video is already so long, and I just feel like I don't want to do any predictions because I don't need anything to change. I just need to heal, and I need to make sure that I don't make the same mistakes again. And I hope that anything that comes up is something new that I want to learn, some new mistake or some new lesson, and I don't want to learn the same thing again. So I don't feel like I have that many predictions. Yes, I could sit here and look at my Saturn return chart number 3 and do all these predictions, but I'm just really happy. And what comes my way will come my way. And I hope it's a lot more of the same because I love this. And I want to sit in this energy that I've been in since I moved for some time and really enjoy it and own it, which, I mean, that is kind of 12th house energy. I have my own little retreat in my home that I love. And yeah, so that's this video. Well, if you watched it, that's awesome. Hopefully you learned something about astrology or learned something about your Saturn return or something along those lines, or it gave you some insight, or maybe it kind of gave you some confidence to break up with your partner if you're in an unhappy relationship, since, you know, I think we're all kind of, I think a lot of people are breaking up with their partners right now. Very 7th house stellium of me, very 7th house stellium of me, as I've said, to kind of go and, you know, do the popular thing of breaking up with my partner when I'm breaking up with them, you know? Also very like Uranus and Taurus moving into Gemini. Like, I'm not a Taurus person. What the fuck was I doing in a monogamous relationship? I gave it a shot, you know? And I mean, I got a great grade on it. I was good and I can do it, but that doesn't mean I want to. Very Venus in the 6th house. But anyways, that's my video. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I sell full-length birth chart readings on my website down below, and I will not be offering Saturn return readings until after I've gone through mine, as I've mentioned. Oh my god, I just locked up my ring. Well, anyways, my battery's about to die, so I gotta go. Thank you so much for watching, and I will get back to my regular content, you know, my more generalized content coming up, and I'm very excited. It's nice to be back, and I wish you guys the best. No, I can't get this ring back unstuck. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Okay, wait, I actually just finished the video and I have something else to say. Okay, I want to talk about, like, how did I find this place that I moved to? And what was the first thing that made me think about breaking up with my boyfriend? Because it does come up in my chart. As you might know, Saturn and Neptune have been in a tight conjunction. So I've been dealing with my Saturn return also with Neptune right on top of it. Basically, I'll just be totally honest because it's a very Neptunian thing. Me and my ex, he had an addictive personality, and so we really tried to refrain from a lot of substances. I'm somebody that does like to use some substances recreationally, and I do not have an addictive personality. I just don't. Not that I don't indulge, I can be indulgent. Like, I can get drunk and I can, you know, I've been blackout drunk before, right? But I don't then do it the next day or even the next week. You know, I just don't have an addictive personality, but I do enjoy like recreational use, right? And so we refrain from pretty much we really refrain from a lot of stuff. Like, he would go through a lot of phases of being sober and I'd have to be sober with him and that kind of stuff, even though I like drinking a beer with dinner, you know, which I can do now, which is so lovely. And just stop after one, you know? But we went to this 9th house energy. We went to this event, which it was actually the event that we had met at 3 years prior. It was a car show. And as we were going into the event, we met his friend, kind of 11th house energy too, because it is square Venus. It was serendipitous. His friend was going up the elevator to the parking garage that has multiple levels, and we were going into that exact elevator as he was leaving it. And this was a close friend of his. And we run into him. We're like, what are the fucking chances that we're meeting you just as you're leaving? And we parked on the same freaking place, and we're, you know, like, you're in the elevator. Like, it was just a weird happenstance, right? And he was like, oh, you know what I have? I have like mushrooms, like psychedelic mushrooms, and I had microdose shrooms before years ago, so I'm very comfortable with it. And I think it can be nice to just have a small amount. I just hadn't done it with him, and I hadn't done it for a long time, since before I met him. He was like, I have these little capsules of like mushrooms that, you know, me and my wife chopped up. And it was like, okay, like he's a Virgo moon, Taurus sun. He's a very trustworthy guy. He's a good guy, actually. One of two friends of my ex that I liked, and he was really nice to me too. And so I was like, this is good vibes, this is good energy, because I do think it matters like who you get your substances from. And so he handed us each one, and we decided to take it, which I was surprised because my ex did not have a good experience with mushrooms. But again, it was good vibes, and so we wound up taking it. And that little tiny mini trip, because it was a microdose amount, it was, but that little mini trip was what had signified the fact that I was like, I can break up with my boyfriend. And it was just weird because it was the anniversary of how we had met, and it just wasn't kind of going very well. He was being very lazy about this event. I was like, oh my God, Aries, right? Like Neptune on top of Saturn and Aries in the 9th house. Like, I can break up with him. Like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. It had just like never occurred to me before. And it was like, that was the signifier as to realizing that I have power to end this relationship. Obviously, I didn't say anything, and it took me a lot of time after that to decide to break up with him and do it. But it was like once that thought came into my mind from those mushrooms, that thought would not leave. And it's like, yeah, I know that I could, I know the option is there to break up with him, but I never actually seriously thought about it and considered it until then. So to me, that's very, Neptune conjunct Saturn in the 9th house, very like, 9th house, like, let's try this happenstance, but then that Saturn, that seriousness of like where my life is supposed to be led, in Aries taking that power back and doing that decision, right? And then that Neptune is obviously the substances kind of signified it. And it's also square my Venus. I realized that I was not having fun, and like, it's like that illusion broke. Somehow a substance was what made that illusion break. So, and how I found the location that I'm living at and decided to move to, it's very 11th housey to me, very Uranus in the 11th house, Venus in the 11th house. You guys are gonna freaking die when I say this, but I found it through the internet, yes, but I found it through ChatGPT. That's how I found the city that I'm living in. There was only the second time I had ever used ChatGPT. The first time was because I was doing something for my business license, and I was doing paperwork, and I was freaked out I was gonna do the paperwork wrong. So I got ChatGPT and I took a screenshot of it and I said, did I do this right? And it actually did help me. It was actually successful, which is crazy. And then the second time we were going out, and I told him like, I want to go out this weekend and I want to have some fun together. And then he took that as, oh yeah, let me do all this car stuff in town and then take you to an event with my friend and then just basically do what I want and see my friends. And it really pissed me off, and it made me feel really lonely, and it made me feel like, again, I'm alone and I don't get to talk to anybody and nobody cares. And I was so hungry, and he wouldn't eat, and I was so hungry and I just wanted to eat food, and I always felt like he would like starve me out sometimes too. But he would say I would starve him out, but then I would have money to eat, but then he wouldn't let me go and get food to eat. And it was always a big thing. Like, he wouldn't want to eat until like 11 p.m. Anyway, so I was hungry. I was mad. I was in a bad mood. I wanted to have fun. And he just wanted to like sit and hang out with like his weird friends that I don't get along with. One of them I got along with, but it was just like, I just don't like being around all those men and like weird, gross, like he lived in like a gross house. And I just didn't really want to be there. I wanted to go out and have fun and like try to make friends and meet people. And he just wanted to like hole up, and I just wasn't happy. Not that what he was doing was wrong. It's just not what I really wanted to do. It wasn't really my envisionment of like us going out, again, like intercepted Sagittarius, Gemini in the 5th house, and so I went to ChatGPT because I was so lonely, which I think a lot of people have done when they're lonely. And I just started like talking to ChatGPT for the first time. And I was basically, what I did was I was like, this is my criteria for a place that I want to live. And I really do feel as though this is like Jupiter in Cancer, part of fortune in Cancer in the 12th house. Like, I feel like my mom was speaking through ChatGPT, as stupid as that fucking sounds. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's how I feel. I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional, but it worked nonetheless. And I basically put the list of things that I wanted, mid-sized town, metaphysical, blah, 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 whatever it is. And the very first place that came up was this place. And I went through every single state. I researched every single state. I had all these other options. I looked into it days and weeks after really intensely, but that place, this town in North Carolina, kept on coming up and kept on coming up and kept on coming up in my mind. And it kept on, and it was the first place that they recommended. I'd never heard of it. It was so random to me. And I was like, for some reason, I feel like that's gonna be the place I wind up moving to. And it was. And I feel like that's very like Uranus in the 11th house, Venus in the 11th house, like ChatGPT was how I found this place. Like yes, I looked into it more after that. And yes, I looked into more places after that, but I didn't know of it at all. I'd never heard of this town. I would have never looked at North Carolina. And so yeah, very like 11th housey, ChatGPT, like it's just weird. So as much as I get like why people hate ChatGPT, in a weird way, I'm like, it saved my life. And I mean, it's just so strange because I'll use it now and it does not work. Like I tried to use it for instructions on how to work my vacuum. I couldn't even get it to tell me the right information with that. Like I have not been able to get ChatGPT to work at all for me since that one time where it gave me the exact location that I wanted to move to. And again, I looked up every single state and I looked into all 50, well, all four, I'm not going to go to Hawaii or Alaska, but I looked up all 48 states and considered them. And it was still like that one place that ChatGPT recommends it is gonna be the place I wind up moving to, and it's exactly where I wound up moving to. So if you're wondering how I found it, that's how. Which is kind of embarrassing to admit, but it's the truth. So yeah, I just wanted to put that in there that it's kind of in this chart as well, I think. But yeah, there you go. What's also interesting is that day that we went out was a big point of contention actually in the relationship, because he was like, you were acting like such a bitch. You were so shitty to be around. I don't know why I would take you anywhere. Like he just basically used that day as me not being happy to like, you know, be a reason as to why he didn't take me on this other trip another time, which is also very ninth housey, right? Didn't take me on these trips, which is why I broke up with him, because I didn't trust him, which I was right, I think, to do that. You know, again, Sagittarius intercepted. We had all these trips planned, all these vacations planned. Then he made me stay home and watch the dogs as like punishment for not acting right. Again, once he did that, I was like, that was really when I was like, I'm going to break up with you if you leave me, you know. And I moved all my stuff to my shed, so we came home and all my stuff was gone, and very like ninth house as well, you know, Saturn in the ninth house as well. And so yeah, it's just interesting because that day was a big point of contention, but he still doesn't know that that was the day that I found the place that I'm going to move to. But it's almost like he's a Scorpio, so he knew something was up and that I was doing something. He probably just thought I was cheating on him, something like that, but in reality, I was trying to find a place to move to. So it's just really interesting. All right, thank you so much for watching. Bye.